You have a good life. And somehow that makes it harder to explain why you're always waiting for something to go wrong. You have a roof. You have people who care about you. By every measurable standard, things are fine. And yet there's this low hum underneath everything, a kind of readiness. Like you're standing in a room that looks perfectly calm, but your body hasn't gotten the memo. Your jaw is tight. Your shoulders live somewhere near your ears. You scroll your phone not because you're bored, but because stillness feels like a trap. You've probably told yourself it's just anxiety, or that you're a little high strung, or that this is just how you are. But what if it's not who you are? What if it's where you came from? Here's what most people picture when they hear chaotic childhood: yelling, broken glass, someone not coming home. And yes, that's chaos. But that's not the only kind. There's a quieter version, one that doesn't make it into therapy intake forms as easily. It looks like a parent who is emotionally unpredictable, warm one afternoon, unreachable the next, and you never quite knew which version was walking through the door. It looks like money problems that adults whispered about, but children could feel like a change in air pressure. It looks like being the one who kept the peace, the one who noticed everyone else's moods before noticing your own, the one who learned very early that the safest thing you could do was be useful. The house was clean, the bills got paid, there was food on the table. And yet, chaos isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the absence of safety you can't point to. Growing up in a space where you couldn't fully relax, where you were always in some small way on duty, where love felt conditional on your behavior, your mood, your ability to not need too much, where the rules kept changing, not because anyone was cruel, but because no one was steering. That kind of chaos doesn't leave bruises. It leaves something quieter and harder to treat, a nervous system that learned to survive unpredictability. And that nervous system came with you into every job, every relationship, every quiet Sunday afternoon that should feel peaceful and somehow just feels wrong. When you're a child, your brain is not finished. It's under heavy construction. And unlike adults, children can't step back and think, my home environment is unstable, I should probably adjust. The body just does it on its own without asking. The nervous system's job is to keep you alive. And it's very good at that job when the environment is unpredictable, when you genuinely can't tell if today is going to be okay. Your brain starts running a background program, constantly scanning, reading the energy in a room the second you walk into it, learning to predict the explosion before it happens, learning to shrink before anyone asks you to, learning that calm is just the pause before the next thing. Cortisol was designed for short bursts. See a threat, respond, recover. But when the threat is your home environment, it doesn't get to turn off. It runs low and chronic for years. And a nervous system that's been soaked in that for long enough doesn't just reset because you turned 18 and moved out. It adapted. It rewired. It built an entire operating system around the assumption that instability is the default. That's not damage. That was intelligence. Your brain doing exactly what brains do, learning from experience and bracing for more of the same. The problem is that more of the same never came. You grew up. The chaos ended. But the software is still running. You probably recognize some version of yourself here. You walk into a party, and within minutes, you've already assessed everyone's mood. You know who's had a rough week, who's had too much to drink, who's about to say something that makes things weird. You're not being nosy. You're doing what you were trained to do. Check the room before the room checks you. Or maybe it's the lists, the planning, the low-level panic when plans change. When everything around you was unpredictable, controlling what you could, your grades, your room, your schedule, was the only way to feel safe. Now you do it even when nothing is actually threatening. The need for control isn't a personality flaw. It's the last thing standing between you and the feeling that everything could fall apart. Or maybe you finally get a vacation, a slow weekend, a few hours with nothing on the agenda, and instead of resting, you feel weirdly anxious. You find something to do, something to fix, something to worry about. Because calm feels like a setup. Because in your formative years, it was never a destination, just the inhale before the next exhale. Your body learned not to trust it, or maybe it's the apologies that come before anything happens. You're sorry before you know what for. You over-explain. You soften everything so it can't be used against you. You learned that taking up too much space had consequences, so you got small, and then getting small became automatic. And now you do it with people who never asked you to shrink at all. Or maybe it's the blow-ups. You held everything together for weeks, and then something small and stupid finally broke you open. A tone of voice, a misread text, someone not being where they said they'd be, and you reacted hard. And then the shame came, because you know the reaction didn't match the trigger. What you might not know is that you weren't reacting to the text. You were reacting to every single time, growing up, that you needed someone to be where they said they'd be, and they weren't. There's a specific kind of suffering that doesn't get talked about enough. The suffering of people who make it out, who build something stable, something genuinely good, and then can't figure out why they feel so uncomfortable inside it, because peace is a foreign language when you grew up speaking chaos, your nervous system doesn't recognize safety as safety. It recognizes it as a pattern break, something unusual, something that probably needs checking. So when life is actually going well, no fire to put out, no conflict to manage, no crisis demanding your attention, something in you gets uneasy. Not because you want drama, but because your body was wired to believe quiet doesn't last, that the other shoe is always up there somewhere waiting, so you sabotage, or you worry compulsively, or you pick fights, or you just never fully land inside the good thing. Because landing means trusting it, and trusting it means being blindsided when it ends. That's not self-destruction. That's just your system doing what it was built for. Getting ready. Here's the thing no one told you when you were small, keeping it all together, scanning every room, learning to be whatever the moment required. You were not broken by what happened to you. You were built by it. The hypervigilance, the people-pleasing, the need for control, the guardedness. None of it was weakness. It was competence. A child solving an adult-sized problem with the only tools available. You learned to read people because you had to. You managed your emotions in public because the cost of not managing them was too high. You became self-sufficient because the adults around you were too busy surviving their own chaos to reliably be there for yours. You were extraordinarily good at living in conditions that were not made for children. The system worked. It kept you safe. It got you here. And now, only now, the work is something different. Not harder, exactly, but unfamiliar. It's teaching your nervous system something it never got the chance to learn. That you don't have to earn your safety anymore. That you're allowed to put the scanner down. That the calm this time isn't the quiet before the storm. It's just calm. That doesn't happen from reading an article or deciding to be different. It happens slowly, the way deep things do, through repetition, through relationships where rupture is followed by repair, through learning to notice the moment your body braces for impact in a room that holds no threat, and choosing gently to breathe. You are not your childhood. But your childhood is in you, in your reflexes, your patterns, your quiet, persistent armor. The first step isn't fixing any of it. The first step is just seeing it clearly. And if you made it to the end of this video, I think you already have.